Oh, look at that. Just in the nick of time, Richard shows up right as I'm kicking off that recording. So thanks for joining, Rich.
Yep.
Um,
I am fighting the camera though.
we
Camera's
had
not.
we were talking about how sketchy it was when you're like, I have a large package being delivered to my house.
Yeah, when you got like 500 pounds worth of stuff coming, FedEx, they aren't the ones to do that delivery.
Yeah. Well, I just kicked off the recording, so good
All right.
afternoon, good morning for those of you who are in that time zone. This is EDU Endpoint Office Hours. Today is June 4th, our last session for the FY24 school year. So thanks for joining us today. Um, I wanted to kick off again to remind everyone that we now have a LinkedIn group, which is hopefully better for you all. Thank you for those who have already joined it. I'm excited about that. I'm going to throw the link in the chat. So if you missed this announcement and you have a LinkedIn account and you want to join this, I think this is going to be better for collaboration purposes. Getting folks added to this group is much easier. We can share content a little bit better than within Teams. So the Teams team itself is sticking around for a little bit, but we'll probably leverage this LinkedIn group for more communication moving forward. So make sure that you join that group if you haven't already. And then again, you're kind of stuck with me and Richard today. So
Uh,
um, we'll run through some updates. It was actually kind of a big couple of weeks. What's funny is on our last EDU Endpoint office hours, we saw some interesting blogs that were announced or released like as soon as we hung up. So you get like 2 solid weeks of updates in the session, which is awesome. So I don't know, Richard, if you want to, we've got two main slides. Do you want to take one? And I'll take one. We didn't really sync up on this prior to the call, or we could just
yeah,
freeform it.
yeah, I can start with a few of these, and then when I get tired, I'll just kick it
Okay,
over. So
sounds good.
I'm not sure when I'm gonna get tired though. But like you said, there's a ton of stuff that came since last time. Like last time we had a ton of announcements too with Copilot Plus PCs and
Yeah, and all
well,
the
that's
build announcements and
yeah. So it's just like a
it's just
fire hose. Yeah, so more flexible Windows feature updates. We're basically now making the feature update node in Intune. So historically, that's been effectively a mandatory update for the feature releases. So the way that EDU tends to leverage this is that you'll probably lock your devices to a specific Windows release. So for right now, it would be 23H2. You would then, in the summer, now that 24H2 is going to be coming this fall, you're probably not going to be deploying 24H2, so you would lock everyone on 23H2 until the following year. Um, However, we've now made it so that these updates can be optional. So as Garrett's showing on the screen here, we didn't have that radio button at the bottom that says make available to users as an optional update. So now you can do that. So that could be nice if you want to test out releases or give people the option to do that. I don't see this as something that's going to be used across the board. I still think, especially in EDU, we kind of, and even most enterprises, I think, want to at least have devices that everyone's going to be on the same release because it makes troubleshooting, it makes everything else a heck of a lot easier. But there might be some pockets of users where you might have them have the option to upgrade to a later or different release of Windows 11. And so that capability has now been added into. All right,
go
what
back
else?
to the slide deck. Hang on.
You get to play the game of jumping back and forth.
I know, sorry. That one was like a key something to show in the console, and I just want to make sure that we showed that for the recording for sure.
Well, and it's because we can show it because the next one we can't show.
That's right.
And we've had a blog post on it for like 2 full weeks. Um, so Windows deployment with the next generation of Windows Autopilot. So I think Autopilot V2 has probably been like the worst kept secret um, for a long time because if you just even look at like the Intune management extension logs, there's like this thing in there that says APv2. And you're like, what the heck is APv2? Well, APv2, it's not Alien versus Predator. It's Autopilot version 2. Um, we are we are going to change how Autopilot is done. However,
Woo!
well, woohoo, yeah.
Kind of,
We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see. We'll see if it's better. There are definitely some improvements that are being made here. The jury's still out though on what these are exactly going to look like. We do have the blog post up that is explaining what's going to happen here. But until I and the rest of our team gets our hands on it to really kind of run it through its paces, we're kind of holding out our opinions on it until we get it.
I think
But that's coming.
Europe tenants have it, EMEA and Asia. I don't think North America, really anyone in the Americas has it yet.
I
Yeah.
have it now. I'm looking at it in our
Oh,
tenant,
Oh,
and
do you?
it's yeah, this enrollment time grouping thing is weird. So we don't register devices in Autopilot to use this?
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Wild.
That's correct. It's
Yeah.
Well, that's why I say the our opinions are still muted until we get full access and we can put it through its paces. Now, so what's interesting about this though is that Autopilot version 1, what we're all used to today, and then version 2, all of this is you can use this in tandem, right? So
Yeah.
if you're going to use everything that you've been using with what we all know of Autopilot right now, the registration of the devices, everything that you're used to today is still going to work. This is going to happen all in tandem. So you're going to have the new Autopilot profiles and the version 2 stuff that we're going to be iterating on top of what's already been released. So what's out now is not the definitive release of this Autopilot version 2. There's still more to come. So this is not the end all be all yet of Autopilot. We're still making some headway into some of this stuff. So it's rolling out right now, as you guys see, like, Michael's got access to it, but I don't have it. Garrett doesn't have it in his tenant. So some folks are still seeing this roll out as it's going. But yeah,
Get
we'll
jealous,
definitely
everybody.
have it. What's that?
I said get jealous.
Yeah,
If anybody wants to
Actually,
watch, I'll share my screen while I create these policies.
yeah, he's gonna go. He's gonna make everyone jealous. But no, it's like I said, it's still rolling out. We're gonna have a separate session on this. I know this is our last endpoint office hours now, and unfortunately, the timing of this isn't all that great. I was kind of hoping that we'd have this kind of fully fleshed out before we wrapped up for this school year. But we'll definitely talk about this in upcoming office hours and go a lot deeper than what the blog post indicates. But we are definitely making some changes here with Autopilot.
Yeah, and actually, Jonathan's got a good question here, and I believe the answer is still yes. Obviously, I have not tested this myself, but are enrollment restrictions still enforced during this flow? And my understanding is that yes, they should be.
That would be my expectation. I just don't know right now.
Yeah.
Without using it,
Right. I haven't tested it. But it should be.
Yeah, you would expect, but again, it's something new. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see. The what's new link. I don't know, Garrett, you want to talk about what's new?
Yeah, and I can probably just pull this up and share it. Yeah. Let me see if I can do this. But I think the biggest ones are actually we've kind of already talked about, right? So we've already talked about platform SSO. We've already talked about Autopilot, device preparation. There's some frontline worker improvements around this. The biggest one, and you'll see some of these additional blogs within that link that we shared, and we'll share the slides with you all. But the BitLocker recovery key, we can now actually retrieve this directly from the company portal. So that's exciting because that's from an end user perspective. We've wanted that for a while.
Now keep in mind, so this goes back to the whole primary user thing. If your devices have a primary user associated with them, then your end users can self-service their BitLocker recovery keys. And they've been able to do that within myaccount.microsoft.com. They could go to that website. They could see all of the devices that are enrolled into their work or school environment, and then they can go and self-service that BitLocker key. So all we're doing here is just taking that experience and putting it into the company portal app. So that way you can actually retrieve the BitLocker recovery key as opposed to having to go to myaccount.microsoft.com if you've never done that before. Whereas the company portal is something that's going to be local. It's going to be something that's going to be local to them, whether it's on their Windows device or iOS or Mac OS. That application is probably going to be more familiar to them than going to myaccount.microsoft.com.
There you go. So you should just talk about this stuff.
I forgot what
identifiers.
was link, so I didn't know.
Yeah, that one does have a dedicated link, so we'll make sure you have access to that. Corporate identifiers is now, this is part of that autopilot device prep process. So again, we don't have to rely on the hashes to get imported into the tenant, but in order to deploy these devices directly, we can now leverage something called identifiers, and you'll notice that we're specifically leveraging things like the manufacturer model and serial number. Right now it's a Windows only today. I suspect that will progress to other platforms later down the road, but today it's Windows only. And then in enrollment time grouping, and then there were a few other minor updates, just some new settings within the settings catalog for Apple devices, specifically around patch management, I believe, software updates, and then there was one other key thing, but I'm forgetting what it was.
Can you pull up the what's new page?
Yeah.
Because I think there was something else I wanted to talk about from that. I just can't remember what it was.
Oh. Number one, remote help has a new endpoint. So you'll notice that it's actually, instead of directing to remoteassistance.support.microsoft, it's now remotehelp.microsoft.com. So make sure filters, firewalls, things like that, that you need to exclude, make sure that that gets updated. But I think it's here on the week of May 20th.
Oh, the deletes. Go up.
This one?
Yeah. Was it that? Well, so we've added, or wait, no, that's not it. We are going to add the ability to delete for bulk deletions. That's not the same thing, but
and that's on the NDA roadmap. Shh. We're gonna have to edit the video now.
Bulk deletions will get better someday. We'll just kind of leave it at that.
We'll just leave it at that.
and then this report will help you monitor those deletes better.
I don't see Richard blush a lot, but there you go.
No.
It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. No, actually, so yeah. So
I think it was the Microsoft Auto update. That's what it was. Not, I knew it was something related to updates, but not specifically software updates for the OS, but for Teams. For getting to the latest one, yeah, making sure that auto update is now working for the Mac OS client.
No one cares about Teams. Come on.
A couple of people do.
This is a national office hours, Garrett. This is Endpoint.
Let's see. Yeah, I guess I don't remember what I was thinking of. So
so we got the enrollment time group.
Oh, there's a new UI for company portal that's rolling out too.
For the web company portal.
Mm-hmm.
You got a link for that, right?
I do. Right there. The last one.
There's
a refresh coming for company portal.
I bet most people don't know that there's even a website for the company portal.
Oh, I don't know. Let's poll the group. Let's see. Don't ask yet. Hold on. Let me make this interactive. Hold on. Yeah, there's a shock face. Polls isn't gonna work. Come on. Come through for me. Okay, new poll.
What is the URL?
How fast can I type here? No, wait. Hold on. How many of you know about a web portal or company portal?
Well, now everyone's going to say yes, because we said there was one.
Oh, well, that's true. Before we said that.
Did you know?
Yeah, there you go. Let's make it a poll. Be honest. Don't lie. Oh yeah, look at that. 68% said no, 30% said yes.
There's a company portal website.
Are you pulling it up?
Yeah, I'll pull it up and show it. I literally never go to it.
No, I always use the app.
I never.
But it sounds like most of our customers do too.
No, like I don't understand like why you would. I mean I know why you would, but if you're managing Windows and you're deploying the company portal app, self-service apps and stuff, but like you can see here, go to portal.manage.microsoft.com, and if you go to home, like I don't have any apps or devices associated with the account that I'm signed in with right now. But yeah, there's a company portal website. And so your apps, devices, all those things would be listed here. So I see all the devices that I've got. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. So,
but there's a refresh of the UI coming very soon.
Yeah, it could use a refresh.
It could. Just a little love wouldn't hurt.
Looking like someone made it out of Power Apps.
They probably did.
And they'll make it with GitHub Copilot.
So there you go. Thanks for teaching us something new, Richard. You always do. What about myapps.office.com? What about it?
Nothing to do with endpoint management, so we'll move on.
You mean it's just one more place to go and get an application that you as an IT admin publish, confusing end users? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm not. Actually, that doesn't even about like that.
No, I think it's supposed to be myapps.microsoft.com.
Yeah, because that's for the
for any enterprise apps published through Intro, right?
Yeah. So my apps that still does work, but that's not. I don't know if anything come to that. That'll.
Yeah. Let's move on to Windows 365. So if you are looking at Windows 365 or you've deployed it, you're probably aware that we have two features. We've got Enterprise and Frontline. Those are the two SKUs in particular, outside of the actual specs that you would build out. But it's important to note that for Frontline, which there might be a place, especially in high ed for Frontline, that it's now FedRAMP certified. So that's GA, which is great to hear. And then also the gallery images for Win365 have been updated with the latest 23H2 and all of the optimizations for teams and things like that. So those gallery images have been updated. So important to note there, make sure you're testing it. And then also we can now do redirections for Android and Windows for remote desktop protocols. So they've updated those redirections and made that possible. So I know that was been an ask, maybe not a huge ask, but there was an ask from a few of my customers around that. So exciting to see that pop in there.
Yep.
Moving on to some other news, specifically around Windows, and you're going to see there's a lot in here because a number of things happened also right after we got off the phone or off the call last time. But the biggest thing, or at least the biggest thing in my opinion, is there's a new ADK out there.
That's the biggest thing out of everything that we announced the last like 2 weeks.
No, in relation to Windows.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, because all of this is really prepping us for 24H2, right?
Yeah.
So 24H2 is becoming sometime in the fall. And so we need to get the ADK out there. The build of 24H2 is already going to OEMs. They're prepping their devices now.
You can download it now as an ISO. It's in the release preview. So go test it out. Yeah,
go test it out, play with it. But the new ADK is out. And so if you have been, if you're working on FFUs, the FFU build process, automatically downloads the latest ADK. We've tested it. It works.
Yep. Confirmed.
Great. with the new.
Good job, Rich.
That wasn't me, actually. That was one of our counterparts had added a pull request to it and added the code to it. So that's working pretty well.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. So
it's actually, and I've been impressed with this, right? I mean, so far what I've done with it has been pretty solid. Usually in ADK releases and everyone goes up in arms because something's broken or something doesn't work, but this does actually add ARM support as well, which I think is very key when we think about deploying 24H2, especially for those Copilot Plus PCs, which we talked about last time. So I've actually been impressed. I think it's a good release.
Yeah, it seems like the community's been fairly happy with it. Like,
yeah,
VB script wasn't broken. It's fixed now. So, So all the tools that rely on it should be working fine.
Yep. A few other things I just linked in here specifically. There was a blog around accessibility with the Copilot Plus PCs, so kind of talking about that. So I wanted to share that with you all because I feel like that's pretty prevalent in education in particular. And then specifically with Surface, there was a nice little blog on the NPU and what they're doing with that in relation to Surface devices specifically. So hopefully we teased y'all a little bit with those Copilot Plus PCs. Last time, I think Richard did a great job talking about that. That's uploaded on YouTube if you missed it, so be sure to go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. But that's a nice little blog to kind of get some of the technical details around the NPU. Yes, I see a comment in here specifically around Win11 LTSC. And I want to be cautious around that unless Richard knows something I don't know. We did announce Windows 11 IoT LTSC 2024. I have not seen Windows 11 Enterprise LTSC 2024, like that you would actually use for any devices. Richard, am I incorrect in that? Have you? Because I haven't seen anything on that. I know it's coming. We've made public blogs that announce that it is coming, but I haven't seen anything about it being released.
Yeah,
just specific to IoT is my understanding.
I'm not sure if these are one and the same or not, because it used to be that LTSC and IoT Enterprise were basically the same thing. So I don't know if this is more of like a marketing terminology thing, where we're saying that this is separate. But I'm pretty sure they're probably the same thing. But I know we're recording, so I'd say don't quote me on that.
yeah, that's
pretty much quoted already.
We've recorded too much of what you've said.
Yeah.
Let me just say, I'll say it, that I don't think that this is the Windows 11 Enterprise. We'll keep you posted on that. We'll do our due diligence. If we need to follow up, we will. But I think that this is specific to the IoT. So just if you test it, make sure you're testing the right thing. And then last but not least, I did throw a blog in here that the VB script deprecation, there's a new blog out there that notes our timelines and kind of next steps for you as admins. So you may want to check that out if you're still heavily relying on scripts that leverage VB script. Yeah. Okay. So
and that timeline is fairly long. It's not like, like the VB script has been deprecated. That doesn't mean it's been removed. But the timelines basically go through and explain when removal is actually going to happen. And that's years down the road. So it's not something.
It's not like the Teams deal where we said, oh, you got to go to new Teams and then we're going to start pushing out the date, even though we said it was really, really soon. And then JK.
Just kidding.
That's not the case. Yep, not doing that. A few comments in the chat that I think we might need to address. Number one, Leaf, does it remove NTLM? I imagine you're asking about the 24H2.
Yeah, I know that was hyped on LinkedIn about they're going to remove NTLM pretty soon.
I haven't seen. I know in server it's going to be removed. I haven't seen anything specific to Windows, so I would imagine the code base is going to be the same and that it will likely be removed. But again, I don't want to come on record and say that without having an internal FAQ that explicitly states that. Unless, Richard, do you know something I don't?
I don't. I know what you're talking about though, because I saw the same thing, but I'm not sure on the schedule of all that.
Okay, Google says there's a bleeping computer article. I'm going to drop it in chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen anything come across our side internally on this. Leap, I'm gonna come back to your question about recall.
I'm also happy about NTLM being deprecated. That's all I'm saying. It's 10 years overdue.
Oh, Richard froze.
Yeah.
Oh no, he did.
No, I'm reading the article that they've put in the chat face. I'm just looking at the date on. Okay, so that's from today. Okay, so it's officially deprecated. But where's his link? Is this guy linking to anything official? Here's something that's deprecating. Okay, deprecated features. There it is. Actually, I did look at this. I thought I looked at this deprecated features link the other day. Okay, yeah, so we literally just announced it. Okay, so here, this link.
Oh, I see. We just updated the docs like yesterday.
Yeah, the deprecated features for Windows Client. So that list right there talks about all the things that have been deprecated, and
Yep.
VBScript is somewhat down this list. Yeah, that was back like in October 23 when we made that announcement. But the blog post that Garrett is linking to is actually giving you the timelines of what that looks like.
Right.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, to leave your point, it looks like NTLM June 2024. I think yesterday we must have announced this. I knew I saw a blog specifically on Windows Server, so I guess it doesn't surprise me that we're removing it from client as well, but it looks like it's docked as of yesterday. So
my guess is that at 2 o'clock Pacific, there's going to be a blog post that goes out that's going to talk about this. Just like last hours.
Join the LinkedIn group, and as soon as that is published, we will link it to that group and you can go read it.
You to the blog post that's not out yet. Good times.
Let's see. Okay, so Dan's confirming he doesn't see LTSC and VLSC, which I would suspect today. I think that's all the comments. Okay. So that's pretty much all we had to share. I mean, it's a decent amount of updates, but we are happy to take some Q&A. And Richard, I don't know if you want to start with Leaf's question.
It's a bombshell.
The recall, specifically how it is saving the data in a SQLite database, and he's asking if it's going to be encrypted.
Yeah, it's pretty well known now that it's not encrypted. So all of the snapshots, the data that's stored in that. Yep. Are you able to hear me? Yeah,
I'm able to hear you.
Yeah, okay. Is not encrypted, so it's all in clear text. So that might be something you want to poke at. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to make any. Again, this is recorded and going up to YouTube, so I'm not going to make any comments on what Kevin posted on Medium the other day.
Okay.
We're all well aware of what was posted. Well, at least I say we. I'm talking about my team. I don't know internally. Yeah. What's being done at a much higher pay grade than myself and Garrett. But
be higher.
I'm sure that that this stuff is being talked about, but I can't comment on what's happening there. But it's out there for everyone to read and see, and so we'll just have to see what we announce as a company at a later date.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great job, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this issue though, it's not. It's definitely an issue, but the impact is going to be small. It's going to be only impacting those that are using Copilot Plus PCs, right? So I think a lot of people can think that, okay, well, Windows 11 itself is actually causing a lot of this, and that's not really the case. Like, in order to run recall, you're going to have a PC that has an NPU that has 40 plus tops or greater. And so those are only going to be Copilot Plus PCs. And so that kind of limits the impact radius of this, if you will, because it's going to be a much smaller target. So that doesn't excuse the fact of the issues that are around this, but the devices that are going to be impacted in your guys' environments are going to be much smaller. It's not going to be like every Windows 11 device is going to have this issue. It's just those that run recall, which require the NPU at 40 plus tops.
And don't forget that this is a feature that the individual can turn off if they don't wish to use this. And there will also be MDM policies. So if you're looking at, like, for example, the Windows AI CSP, you're going to see that expand. Right now, it's turned Copilot on or off, right? And that actually, by the way, Copilot in 24H2 is now a separate app. It's not baked into the OS. So that's going to change. But some of those additional capabilities are going to light up under that Windows AI CSP there. And so even if that's not the case, like, you as an IT admin can still disable this when you deploy, even on a Copilot Plus PC. So there's that.
All right. So what else?
So you're saying we can just uninstall Copilot in 24H2. Yeah, I haven't tested this yet, but yeah, I think it's going to be the same thing as like an inbox app that you'll be able to remove. I'm assuming you'll be able to remove it. Obviously, I haven't tested that myself, but it will be treated as an inbox app that's updated through the store, etc. It's not baked into the OS.
All right. What else we got from questions? See, does Windows 11 LTSC install Windows Backup? I don't know. I mean, I haven't installed LTSC in forever, so I'm not exactly sure what that SKU looks like these days. But I don't think backup, like, from what I recall, LTSC didn't have a lot of the inbox apps. So my guess is that backup probably isn't going to be there, but because backup's more of a consumer feature anyway.
Yeah.
So LTSC really shouldn't, like I said, IoT Enterprise and LTSC are fundamentally the same code. That's how it's been in Windows 10, and I don't see that fundamentally changing for 11. So given all of that, my guess is that you're probably not going to see Windows Backup there too.
But right below that, Jonathan has an interesting question, and I haven't seen anyone respond to him. But is there anyone using FFU tool for their lab images? I guess Monty responded, but for the lab images that contain things like Autodesk or Adobe Creative Cloud, etc. Is anyone using FFUs particularly around that scenario?
Yeah. While folks are commenting on that, if they are, the one thing that I would add to this, if you are going to be including anything large like Autodesk or Adobe Creative Cloud, is that I think by default the virtual hard disk size is 30 gigs. And if you are trying to integrate any large apps like that could make things larger than 30 gigs, you might run into an error. So you may want to change the parameter for the disk size to be larger, just so you can fit apps in there. But there really shouldn't be any issues with it. You just obviously need to figure out what the silent unattend command is going to be, so that way the VM can install without any user intervention. But even if there is user intervention, I mean, you could, you see the VM, you could click through it if you wanted to. So if there's any, manual customizations you need to make, you've got that capability. So it doesn't necessarily have to be unattended, but it's probably easiest if it is. But it looks like Mike says that he put Unreal Engine in it, and I know that's huge. And so, and I know Mike's actually submitted some pull requests too. So I know it's working for him.
Where are you seeing that? I don't see that.
In the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look under, if you look right above Monty's response where it says we use FFUs for all computers, right above that, Mike is.
Oh, I didn't scroll far enough.
Yeah.
Got it. There it is. Thanks. So let's see. Monty has a question. What's the suggested path to upgrade everyone to the new Teams app? We did a whole session on that. So I just linked it in the chat for you. You should go watch it. I presented on it.
Garrett is our resident expert on
that. You should just let Microsoft do it for you. To be quite honest. But there's a new bulk installer you can also deploy if you want to manage it. So
I don't know, Garrett. There's a lot of people that are distrusting of Microsoft and they don't want Microsoft to do things for them.
I know. I don't blame them, but this one's pretty solid. We just keep pushing the timeline around. That's the only thing. We just like to make it confusing. But
actually, you know, one thing that I was working on the other day was, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if you install Office with the ODT, even if you have Teams not set to be excluded, it doesn't seem like new Teams gets installed through the Office Deployment Toolkit.
I don't think it's there yet.
Yeah, because I was working on an FFU for another customer, and as we were building it out, I didn't have Teams, and I was like, what's happening? Why am I not seeing Teams? I couldn't. But if you look at the ODT documentation, it says the new Teams should be coming along with it, and it's not.
Yeah, I haven't seen it come through.
So what I had to do is I had to download the Teams Bootstrap client, and because when FFU builds the VM, it's not connected to the internet. So if you just download the Teams Bootstrap client, it won't actually install Teams because you don't have internet connectivity. So you have to download not only just the Bootstrap client, but also the MSIX file.
Yep.
Right. So you download both of those, and then
you're gonna get an outdated.
What's that?
Well, you could get an outdated MSIX file pretty quickly because that thing updates pretty often.
Yeah, well, but that really wasn't the problem. The problem though is that if you just try to download or if you try to run the Bootstrap client without the MSIX, it's not going to do anything because the Bootstrap client goes out to the internet to download the MSIX. So you have to provide that in the FFU build process. So I'm just mentioning this for those that are trying to deploy new Teams for new builds with FFUs, that the ODT doesn't include the new Teams client. And so if you want the new Teams client, you'll need to download both the Bootstrap client for new Teams and the MSIX. And it's on the same page for bulk installing Teams, whatever I'll grab the link and shoot it over.
And yes, classic Teams will eventually get removed from Microsoft. We're actually going to do it for you. You can remove it yourself. I've usually left it as a best practice to leave it for a little bit in case there's something that your end users are using in classic Teams that's not yet supported in new Teams, which is very little at this point. We're pretty much at parity. In fact, you're going to get newer features with new Teams, such as I think this week we released the Notify Me When Available for presence. For those end users, that's only shipping on new Teams. Classic Teams won't get that. So new Teams is going to start seeing more new features that classic Teams doesn't get, but we will eventually remove new Teams for you. Yeah. It used to be a Skype feature. Yeah, good call, Eric.
Hey, Dan. So your comment here: are you using cached Office installer? No, with the FFU build process, it's downloading ODT. It's the latest ODT that's out there. And so that doesn't provide new Teams at all. So, so the link I posted for everyone, if you are building FFUs and you want Teams, follow the process in that link. It takes you right to the option 1B, which explains how to download the exe and to download the associated MSIX for x64. I'll probably just integrate this at some point into FFU, so you'll have a parameter that just says if you want to install Teams, just say true, and then it'll go and download these things and just build it in. But right now it's not doing that. So Okay. What else we got?
I think that's all I'm seeing. I know there was some discussion around the config refresh earlier, and then there was one.
Oh, is Keith on? Check Zoomer.
I thought he was on.
Oh, yeah, Keith is there. Yeah, the config refresh thing, Keith, that you posted in that chat.
And this was like, a couple hours before endpoint office hours. So if you scroll up to about, for me, it's 12:25 local time.
Yeah, I think that, like I mentioned in the chat, like that all should be working. If it's not working for you, then I think a support case is probably the best route to figure out what's going on there, because config refresh should work with Windows 11 23H2.
Okay, I'll pursue that. But I was in the process of writing a CSP URI hack to get it to work.
Yeah, try it. I mean, it looks, the only URI that's in the event log looks correct. So I'm not sure why it's failing. You could try it with a custom element URI, see if you get any different behavior. It's possible that the sync ML that's being sent down from Intune. I assume that you're using settings catalog. Is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Okay, yeah. So unless there's been like some weird change in settings catalog, like, yeah, go ahead and try a custom element URI if that works, great. But if not, then I think a support case is probably the right place to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right.
I think we got all the questions. Is there anything else out there? Luckily, we've got lots of new stuff for y'all to play with over the summer. So
yeah, and I'm working on a new build for FFU. I think what I'm putting in there, I don't know, Gary, you tell me, but what I'm putting in there, you think people are going to like it?
I'm excited if it works.
If it works. If it works.
Yeah, no, there's some really Richard, you're thinking of everything. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, trying to think of everything.
End to end, right? So should we tell them? I mean, should we give them a sneak peek?
Sneak peek?
You gotta end the recording.
Nah, we don't have to end the recording. It's not that secret. There's no NDA here. I'll give you a sneak peek. Give me 1 sec. Let me share my screener.
This will make a few of you pretty excited.
So
I even like it because I had a ask from a customer for this specific component.
This component.
Yeah. I don't even know that I've told you this. So
what they ask?
They wanted a way to download and extract all the Surface drivers via command line.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, it's almost like we like teed this up, like we planned this. But I wonder.
See how good I am? Like, come on. That was awesome.
And let me guess, were they buying a Laptop Go?
No.
No, it wasn't Laptop Go. Oh.
No.
Well, imagine if you were buying a laptop and you're like, you know what? I want the drivers. Like, how do I get the drivers? What do I do?
Yeah. Because at first, like, okay, you just did it. But, like, remember what you have to do today, specifically for Surface devices.
Yeah.
To go get the drivers.
Yeah, you got to go to the page, you go download it.
You got to go to the page. You got to find your model.
Right, which model you want. And then you're like, dude, I just bought a Laptop Go. Like, can I just search Laptop Go? So you search Laptop Go, it's like, well, that's not a model. Like, yeah, it is a model, but there's Go 1, 2, 3. And so now we basically just go and spit out all the different Surface devices that are on our downloads page. And then you just type the number of what you want. So if you bought the latest Laptop Go, then just type in 18. And then we go out, we go find the download and we download the MSI, then we extract it, and then we integrate it right into the FFU process. And so, it's going to use bits. It's going to download that. Take some time, but it's going to get you the latest MSI, and it's going to extract all of it. And if you're using Windows 10, then you pass, up here we say Windows release is 11, pass Windows release is 10. Ultimately, the drivers will work fine for both. But what about other OEMs? Like, okay, Microsoft, you guys are good. MSI is pretty easy. And with Microsoft, like, we don't have that many. We have 44 models. Like, you see it right in the list, 44, 45. I think I started at 0. But when you look at like Lenovo or HP or Dell, it's like those guys have hundreds, thousands of models. So what about them? Well, we could do the same thing for all of the different vendors. So I've got now one here for HP that I'm working on, where if I run this, start debugging, I'm looking for an X360. But with HP, they give me, there's 40 different models with X360 in the name, whether it's a ProBook, EliteBook, ZBook, whoever it might be, Pro. I have all these different models. And you guys know, if you go download CAD files, like, this is the thing that irritates me the most about like operating system deployment, is when you go to an OEM, they give you a CAD file that's like 2 years old, and they never update the CAD file for SCCM or MDT or whatever. So what if we could just go get the latest drivers, like the actual latest drivers the OEM has published, not an old CAD file, but the actual latest drivers that they have. And so if I look at this list here, in the EDU space or the K-12 space, HP's got a ProBook X360 11G7. This is like a low-end, like $400, $300 laptop running like a Celeron processor. So if I type this one in, this is going to go out, and it's downloading the individual soft packs from HP, extracting them and saving them. And so this is going to give you the latest ones from their website. And so what we've basically done is just reverse engineered what HPIA is the name of the tool they use, HP Image Assistant. That's the name of the tool that they use. And so we just kind of looked at Fiddler and how it does its thing and just kind of reverse engineered all of that. Luckily, this is all done through XML files. So it's pretty easy to figure it all out. So this is going out, downloading, extracting all the latest stuff from HP. And yeah, so this is going to be integrated into the whole FFU process. Right now, it's all just individual files, just because it makes it easier to test this stuff out. The plan for this month, hopefully early this month, but it could be, just depends on when I get around to getting it all done and get it all tested. But this will be integrated. So that way, when you can search for any driver for any model, you should be able to just find the drivers and should download, integrate around the FFU. So that's
I have been using this. I can attest to it working. So huge effort gone into this from Richard. So just major kudos. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So what we just watched, this is timestamp 153 on Pacific time. And so it went out and just downloaded the stuff in the driver category. It's not downloading firmware. I mean, I had it downloading firmware. I wanted to see it download everything just to see what I got. But we don't need, because we can't inject firmware.
Yeah.
Right. iOS firmware, none of that stuff can be injected. So it's just doing drivers, which is the only thing that DISM will inject into the FFU. So that's all baked in.
And in most cases, if you needed to update the firmware, right, you could still do the apps component of it. And in restarting, you might have varied results, but something you can leverage.
BIOS and firmware stuff, that's going to be OEM specific and usually stuff that you do after the fact. It's not something that you do at image time. So we're not going to include any of that. But yeah, for the most part, all major OEMs, we've got the bulk of the work done there. Now it's just really integrating the stuff into the FFU build process, which shouldn't take too long. And then there's just some like testing things that have to be done for, just if there's any issues or whatever, making sure that things work the way we expect it to. So, but looks really good at this point. So I'm pretty. I think we'll have it done this month, so we should be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I'll stop sharing that.
There was You shared with me, actually, kind of in relation to this. I'm going to share with the community. I didn't get your blessing to do this, but someone linked a feedback item directly to the Intune page to go integrate Richard's FFU script directly into the product. So I just threw it in the chat. You should go upvote this.
This would be hilarious. It would be hilarious if they get it on the list. Because I have had some PMs come to me and ask me like, "Oh yeah, how are you doing that? How like what are you guys doing there?" Because everyone wants to make like the Windows, like basically like the Windows reset experience faster.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we use FFUs, and it's like, well, how could we integrate that into reset? I'm like, well, you can't, because the way reset fundamentally operates is that you're using the files that are already existing on the device, and so with FFUs, you have to have a separate disk, whether it's a USB drive or a physical disk in the machine. You have to have some other physical disk to hold the FFU. So there's no real way to integrate it. But the link that you posted there, it's like, yeah, put it in. But I'm highly skeptical that config manager is going to want to really touch more on OSD. I think them putting ARM support in there in OSD was it's very, very cool that they did that, but that might be like the last OSD thing they do. I could be wrong, but
who knows? Who knows? But yeah, you should go upvote this, because I think we'd all like to see that. So that's your summer preview.
Yeah,
we'll leave you with that. Thanks, Richard, for all the work there. Thank you to you all for joining us this season. Hopefully you'll join us when we return. Again, I'm going to share this one more time. If you have not joined the LinkedIn group, go ahead and do so. And let's make sure that we keep the conversation going over the summer. It's what this community is about, is learning together, sharing with one another. Make sure that you get this and throwing it in the chat too. Go ahead and join. We'll post things throughout the summer. And then, of course, if you don't have LinkedIn, right, the team still exists. You can join that. And certainly use that Teams community there. And then we'll see all in the fall. I will get invites sent out for next school year, probably in the summer. Probably July, beginning of July, somewhere in there. We'll start kicking things off for the new school year. So thank you again for attending. I'm gonna go ahead and cut off the recording, and we'll see you all next time.
Yeah, see you next time. And also, guys, if you want